All right, Joe, on to the Saturday action. We got a 12 noon Eastern kick, 9 a.m. Pacific, an ACC matchup in Bobby Dodd Stadium, one of the more underrated stadiums in college football. We got UNC on the road against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech opens -6.5, bet up to -9.5, a total of 60. What do you think about this movement from 6.5 to 9.5? Do you agree with Georgia Tech getting bet, Joe?
I do. There's a couple of factors why you're seeing the line move. Let's look at the series total. Over the last 5 games, North Carolina has won 3 of the last 5 and dominated this ball game last year in Chapel Hill by 28 points. That aside, North Carolina has major injuries heading into this ball game. One of them is wide receiver Austin Proehl. That'll put a lot of pressure on Chaz Surratt to really stretch Georgia Tech's defense vertically. When you look at Georgia Tech overall in this matchup, Drew, they're rushing for 393 rushing yards per game heading into this ball game. They dominated a solid defensive front in Pittsburgh, but it's not just the offense of Georgia Tech. On third down conversions, from an offensive perspective, Georgia Tech is converting 54% of their third downs, but they have one of the top ranked statistical defenses in college football, only allowing 264 total yards per game. They're holding opposing offenses to 164 passing yards per game, and more importantly, very solid in run support, giving up 100 rushing yards to opposing offenses. And their third down defense, to me, is critical in this ballgame. They're holding opposing offenses to 26% on third downs. When you look at North Carolina defensively, they're not good in run support. They allowed 186 rushing yards to Duke last week. They had a 17-13 lead in the fourth quarter and lost that ball game by double digits. They gave up 2 late touchdowns in a rivalry game. They now go on the road. They're struggling in run support and are going to face the triple option. To me, that's the difference. I think Georgia Tech is the right side here. I think they win this ball game convincingly by 17 points or more Saturday afternoon.
All right, Joe. So agreeing with this line movement here, betting Georgia Tech -9.5 right now. We also got 139-140, a Big 12 matchup, 3:30 Eastern kickoff here. Baylor versus Kansas State. It looks like Kansas State's commanding a 17-point favorite role here. You can actually grab a 16.5 at 5 dimes right now. And across the board, pretty much the total's sitting at 59. How are you looking to bet this Big 12 matchup, Joe?
Yeah, I like the underdog here. I was very impressed the way Baylor played at home against Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield. This is a team that has struggled in the early part of the year with Matt Rule, a more physical head coach that predicates offensive line physicality and defensive line physicality from his days at Temple. Baylor was not built that way under Art Briles, a finesse offense and defense. You look at the matchup against Kansas State, they've won 4 of the last 5 over K-State by 14 points per game. They did lose this battle last year in Waco, 41-21. It was Zach Smith's first game as starting quarterback. They had the lead early in the second quarter before Kansas State wore down the defensive front 7 of Baylor in that ball game. But you look at Zach Smith overall. He broke out last week. He completed 66% of his passes, 463 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the way you have to beat Kansas State, is you have to challenge them vertically, jump up on them early, and force that offense out of their game plan of running the football. I'm not sold on the consistency of Jesse Ertz as a pocket quarterback. He's only completing 55% of his passes. And more importantly, I was not sold on Kansas State entering this year. Last year, I told you 2 weeks ago, they won 9 games in 2016. That came against 8 FBS opponents with a combined overall record of 39-60. I think Baylor has a speed advantage on the perimeter. I think they're in this game from start to finish, and I think Zach Smith is the right quarterback for Baylor moving forward. They showed me something last week, putting up over 450 yards of total offense on Oklahoma's defense. I think Baylor gets the upset win here, 44-30 over Kansas State this coming Saturday.
All right, so you like them close, and so taking Baylor plus the 17, right, Joe?
Yeah, Baylor plus the 17.
Okay, you can find 17 pretty much across the board right now.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.